Happy Wednesday, buyers! So we're continuing with Phenomenal Plants Week today, and I'm sorry I didn't get this video posted yesterday. We had major technological difficulties with the filming. So I'm trying some new things today, so hopefully this will work out better today. So last time we dissected a seed, and we started some seedlings from different stages, and I'll post pictures of those in a little bit. But today we're going to dissect a flower. So I have with me today a flower that we're going to be dissecting. It's a lily, and we're using a lily because it has all of the awesome things that we need to see, like right in there. Alright, so now we're ready for our flower dissection. So the very first thing we're going to do is look at all the different parts of the flower that we can see. And the thing that you all think of as a flower that makes a flower we're called the petals. And on this flower, they're white that have been spray painted blue on the outside. Just to make it pretty, I guess, for the bouquet that they were in. But the petals actually have a really important purpose. And the petals actually tell pollinators like bees or other insects where to go to find the nectar that they're interested in, the pollen that they're interested in finding, okay? So we can't see the patterns necessarily, but insects with their eyesight can see potentially different stripe patterns or different polka dot patterns on these petals, I mean. Now this brown stuff that you see on the petal, that's actually pollen. And we'll talk more about where that pollen came from in a little minute. So I'm gonna take some of these petals off. Oh, and see when I took that petal off, this long skinny thing came with it. So we're gonna separate these parts apart a little bit, okay? And this flower isn't, well, it's kind of old now, so it's falling apart easily. And I'm gonna take all those petals off, one at a time. You can see where it was attached to the center of the flower here, how it curls out. It's kind of neat. You can see all these little, what look like veins in the flower, and that's more or less what they are. It's the way the water and nutrients get to the petals. Okay, so now that we've kind of exposed the center of the flower, we can talk about some of the parts that are inside a flower. So let's start with this long, skinny thing with the orangey yellow part at the top. That is what's called the pistil, and at the top of the pistil is what's called the stigma. So I'm going to pull that out of the flower. Oops, see if I can. Oh. Well, there's the stigma. And the stigma on this flower looks like it has like a triangle shape, right? See how that, or a letter Y? And it's really kind of cool. The stigma, I don't know if you can see the sticky coming off it when I touch it with my finger. See right there? You can see it, it almost looks like string cheese. The stigma is really, really sticky. And its purpose is that when the pollen floats around in the air, it gets stuck to that sticky stigma, and then will travel down the pistil all the way to the bottom part of the pistil. And down in here is where seeds will form. Okay, and that pollen needs to travel all the way down there in order to get a seed to form. And it forms right in this like wider spot down here. Okay, now you can see on our stigma, there's some brownish stuff on there. That, in fact, is the pollen already stuck onto the stigma, okay? Now, where did that pollen come from? Well, it came from the other part of the flower that's on the inside called the anther, okay? And the anther, on the very top of the anther, this is the filament here, the skinny part, and the top part, that's where the pollen is produced. And it starts, like, see that on my finger? It's like a powder, right? And it gets shaken off by the wind or by an animal or a plant that comes, another insect that comes along, and it travels through the air and it gets stuck to the stigma. See? I touched it to the stigma, now it's stuck on there. Okay? Now, I have another pistil here. Okay, let's see if we can see this. So I saved a couple of these flowers that we can kind of cut into them and see what's going on. So here's where our seeds would form in the flower. And if we very carefully slice it in half and peel it open, you can see down the center, right down here, it's like a hollow tube. Okay? and that would be where that pollen, it's called pollen tube, the pollen would have kind of gone down that tube and ended up in the base of it where seeds would form if this one were to have seeds. All right. So that's some of the amazing stuff that happens inside a flower. Who knew that a flower wasn't just to look pretty, that a flower was functional? It has all these little pieces and parts inside it that help a flower make new plants. So I posted a bunch of different flower pictures on our LalliLab Instagram. I'll post the link to that as well. So you can see different examples of how flowers have, you know, formed these different flower parts. Flowers might look different, but they all have the same parts on the inside. All right, guys and girls, I'll talk to you again some more tomorrow. We're going to talk about stems tomorrow. Yay. All right.